But it's the expression of the genes. It's the genes.
It's the expression of the gene, not the
But
gene.
it's the genes that determine.
Can't we just not have mood swings and just share information, with decorum?
Jefferson, what's happening?
Well, go read Google then.
But listen, I have posted in chat a link from a credible source that says that race is not related to genetics. So, which is phenotypes. Phenotypes is genetics. That is objective.
It's a part of
genetics. Not a thing. So, until you post something that refutes what I posted, do not use race as a phenotype thing.
So this how silly you are. We all share the same genetics, but we don't all share the same phenotype.
Yes, but the thing that can be expressed is decided by the genes. Without the genes, there is no gene expression. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Yes, there's yes.
So without the genes, there is no gene expression.
The phenotypical genes that shows that we do share a commonality amongst race.
Listen. If the genes go away, can they be expressed?
Yes.
Or no?
Oh no,
if the genes disappear, can they be expressed? Yes or no?
What can you express? What are you talking about?
If the genes disappear, can they be expressed?
No.
No, they can't. So the genes are responsible for the expression. The expression is the phenotype. That means that the genes are the phenotype. That's just the law of proper inference. If A equals B and B equals C, then C equals A.
That's just one function of genes, though. That's you being pedantic. And the reason why I say that
you're being obtuse. You're being obtuse and stop. You're being obtuse and not accepting that you're wrong.
No, it's not that I'm not wrong.
You are completely wrong. I posted it in chat. You are wrong.
So, because we're talking about
man went full Shawshank Redemption on this dude.
What? That's not the fit. So I don't know why you want to keep interrupting me because you know you're wrong.
No, because I
My feet hurt.
be wrong. You won't shut up about it. So if you had allowed me to retort and respond to your claims without support, I wouldn't have had to talk over you or get loud if you would just shut the fuck up for 30 seconds and I could have posted my thing in chat, you could have moved on, and all you have to do was admit that you were wrong and you could have moved on.
Yeah, well, I'm not wrong. That's the thing about it.
What you is the middle of the
God, I love this room so
You
much.
acted like a fucking child.
I'm not wrong. You're wrong.
No,
You can't handle it. You hate being wrong.
I posted a link from a credible source that says you are
Man,
wrong.
you ain't know you back yet.
You are wrong.
So anyway,
You're wrong.
I'm saying it's
You're wrong, bro.
race in the way that
Yes, I'm
describes
back.
it is.
I'm back.
Let me ask you: are you an atheist?
No, I'm not. But I believe there's a higher source or a higher energy. But I don't go by that Bible or none of that stuff.
Okay, we're liking that, man.
Yeah.
So this is your problem, dog. Anytime you're wrong, you like to throw a little bitch fit, try to talk over people and cut people off and yell and spit and cuss. But it don't matter because that just shows that you can't handle being wrong. You're a child, you're immature, you can't handle regular facts, and you need to grow up.
I'm incredibly angry as well for no reason.
He's angry because he feels left out of life.
Oh, God bless you.
We were just talking about how Hitler, he did have a pretty cool beard, to be honest. It's a shame he got gassed off, really. That was before the war, so it's not racist.
Here's something to set the room on fire. What do you think about IQ differences among groups of people? I want to mention that.
That's a great point, Michaela. I was actually thinking about that when we started talking about.
Yeah.
If race isn't real, I think we can all agree that certain phenotypes get treated differently. Period.
Are you black, KK?
Yes, I am. My Instagram is connected and I'm verified.
I didn't look at it. I just.
Oh, I can tell that you're black because of the pitch of your voice and magnetic as well, I believe.
We know each other. That's why I asked. We know each other.
That would be a part of the colloquialism, I believe. That's why we can identify
Actually,
I thought that's where you were. I mean, are you not Bubble Puff? Wait.
Oh no, Slytherin all the way, actually.
Meditations.
No, but no, you're Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls. You're like
No, that's Bubble.
Because like.
Not Buttercup. That's the angry one. Donald or Weed could be Buttercup. That's for sure.
But your first part of your career was always in charge. For fire.
Reality is not good.
Everything that could come. It worked for you. Look at the career you've had. But you actually.
Yeah, I'm joking, obviously.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is MeditationYogaCenter.com.
You can tell a lot about someone by their avatar, essentially. What I like about this app quite a lot is that people tend to. Yeah, I mean, it's not like. There's no kind of like goal. It can be kind of the opposite. It's like.
My best friend, she is
it's just something that's interesting. To me,
no states, no government.
I find
control of that.
a lot of apps don't do that. You know? Yeah, dude.
All right, Al, how about that one? Is that better?
Yeah, dude. Why that of all things?
Just a little part two. You know, protecting my identity. Things can get a little crazy on this app sometimes. But I love where this conversation is going.
Well, I don't know.
Especially that your phones are off.
I grew up with like Cartoon Network on like the channel, but nowadays
Remember your safe colors. Not that you'll need
do
them
that
usually.
like kind of anywhere really.
You never know. Something comes up that you
Power or anything anywhere. So. To be honest, back in the day, it was kind of cool when it was just TV because you were kind of forced to like actually hang out with each other, sort of thing.
So I said the record straight type of guys, and so concept of race is often based on phenotypic traits, which are the observable physical characteristics of individuals.
I want to see your source.
Okay, let me finish. You'll see the source when I'm done.
No. You post
No.
You
You
then
ask
you
me the source
finish.
when I'm done.
Post your source first, and then you
It
finish.
includes skin
Post your
color,
source.
hair textures.
Wait, I'm not going to let you finish until you post your source. I'm just not going to let you
I'm
finish
not.
until you post your source.
I'm not playing. I'm
Post
Can
your
we
source.
reading it out there.
can we just have a little more decorum, please? Can we have a little more kindness and friendship?
Post your source. Post your source.
Can we just not have mood disorders and mood swings in the room?
You want to take my word for it?
No, we need to be more racist and make it worse.
Hello?
He's mad because I'm reading it.
Hello?
I'm reading it out.
Cite
Hello?
your source, Weed.
I'm
Cite
reading
your
it.
source.
I'm not citing anything. I'm not doing that. It's too much work. I'm not working for you.
Non sequitur.
Go look it up. Go get on ChatGPT.
It's the worst blast. Alright, Donald, could we maybe not play that music? Because I gotta say, it's kind of punitive for the whole room, not just the speaker interrupting your room. You know that, right? That's like annoying for everybody, right?
Okay, just hang on. Weed not posting his source. Extremely annoying.
No, but that's even worse. That's even worse, Donald. That's such an annoying song. I hate that song. It gives me a migraine, a horrible pain, and right in the right side of my brain. It's like an incredible pain. It's like I feel like when you play that song, it's giving me a stroke in my brain. You don't play it again. You're gonna give me a stroke in my brain. How you gonna give me a stroke?
This is fine.
There's this really cool button called Leave Quietly. Always press it. Maybe I didn't know what you said.
You love to kill in your own rooms.
What's it called?
It's just more evidence that you hate yourself and God hates you as well.
God doesn't exist, so we can't hate anything.
Shit, I can't.
Please, Donald, don't play that song again. It gave me a seizure last time. Your song actually gave me a seizure, so I'm gonna have to hold you liable if you do it again. I'm gonna sue you.
Alright, get a doctor to write a note.
Don't play it again. It gave me a seizure. Please don't play that punitive music again. It gave me a seizure.
Give me a doctor.
Yo, dude, I'm having a seizure right now, and I'm suing this room. Because no reason.
Donald, don't do it. That's punitive to everybody. Nobody appreciates it. And you gave me a seizure last time.
I don't like being mean to you.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like all the mood swings in the room. It's giving me a migraine in the right side of my brain. It hurts a lot.
The most likely candidate having the most mood swing crazy person possible.
When you say about to antagonize me, just know that I'm a better antagonizer. Just know that. Oh, yes, I have. When you got a mute.
Please don't do it again. You're gonna repeat the communication cycle. Then he's gonna play the music.
The only thing you can't control yourself.
I'm very well control of myself.
You are not. You have serious.
You guys are going down the same street, but you're supposed to head back.
Come on.
Don't play the music again, Donald. It gave me a migraine and a seizure.
I heard you the first 5 times.
But you guys are going down the same street.
Okay, Jefferson, shut up.
What is happening? This is worse.
Hello?
Jefferson's like you, Al.
Hello?
Hey, do you want to have a minute with him? Al?
Meow.
No.
He's just like
Nah.
Meow.
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 Please.
Meow.
Listen.
Meow.
Don't.
Meow. 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 That was dope. Bark, meow.
Revelations.
Meow,
Most
Mark.
churches don't even read
They
Revelation.
won't even touch Revelation. They just give you the feel good verses, and they know you're downtrodden and you're going through it, but God's got a way, and they read you the verse of them coming out of slavery into the kingdom, and that's all they do. They read you the uplifting verses that God said after Babylon, what are you gonna do to them? And they read those and they say, whatever you're going through in life, God got a plan for you, and all this simple shit. That's all church is.
I mean, I don't think it's even possible to begin to approach to explain Revelations without knowing history or like I don't like Revelations is like you can't really explain it as a standalone book. Like it's damn near impossible in my opinion because it's just too much symbolism. And if you don't know
But you in church. That's where you're supposed to learn it at, in church.
Yeah, but they can't teach it to you in church because they don't know history. They don't know like the
But that's the
patterns of the
problem,
Bible.
though. They need that to Bible study and stuff. Church is supposed to be. You're not supposed to have church on Sunday and then on Tuesdays you have Bible study. Church is supposed to be the Bible. Like Sunday is supposed to be the Bible study. When you go there, you don't go there for a motivational speech to feel good. You go there to understand what this word says. If this is God's word, what does it say? And if you really read it, you would see that it's all over with. So you got no point in being in this church except to be giving a motivational speech so you can get on with your week.
They know that people is not going to read it, so they just tell them whatever. Because you'll have people like, when they were talking to a girl, I was like, you're not supposed to eat pork. She's like, how? My pastor never said that. My pastor never said nothing like that. I'm like, I could tell you don't fucking read the Bible yourself because you're...
And most people don't. Bro, most people don't even know they call it a church. The word church go back to the word kirk, which goes back to the Greek goddess Circe. So you're calling it a church and you're going back to worshiping Greek gods and goddesses and you don't even know it. Like, that's how stupid most people are. I'm telling you that most people have no business opening up this Bible at all.
Thanks. They just go there for like fellowship, somewhere to go. Some people all by themselves lonely. They want to meet friends.
Yeah, I don't know. I went to church like 4 times in my life, maybe. My grandma made me go like once. My mom made me go once. I went with my stepmom like 2 times, I think, and then I went like 2 or 3 other times, maybe like 8, 9 times. But all they used to do is just sweat and jump and yell, and all the old women used to fucking fan themselves, trying to act like they holy and shit.
That's all it is, bro. So,
Hey, I wonder if that evil shit that they did be haunting them while they be in church. Your ass was just in a 4-piece and the train ran on your life.
That's where they go to wipe away their sins. They was just doing some dirt the other day, and they go to church and they feel better about themselves. Jesus forgive you and all this, so they feel good to go do the same thing next.
My old block in Brooklyn, it was Pentecostal church, Baptist church, another church, non-dominion, liquor store, drug spot, crack spot, weed spot, church. That was my block.
Yeah, church is just like liquor stores, just as dangerous too.
That shit crazy. I don't know. I was never, like I said, a big church person. As soon as my dad heard that Israelite shit, he was like, we Israelites, we ain't going to no fucking church.
I used to play the drums in that motherfucker and everything. Your pops still an Israelite, TJ?
Yep.
Yeah,
Wait. He still listens to Tahar?
Yeah, and I find that real weird because we was at a house party one time and my dad fucking ate a lobster tail and I'm sitting there looking at him and I'm just staring at this nigga. I'm like,
he said, son, that's what the blood of Christ for.
Hey, and I'm staring at his ass and he's looking at me and he looking at me, looking at him, and we make eye contact for a few minutes and I'm standing there like, and this nigga killed the lobster tail. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. All right.
Hey, we striving to be perfect, son. We striving.
I'm like, all right, no problem, OG, no problem. But that's crazy, though.
And then if you try to condemn him, he'd be like, he that's without sin cast the first stone.
I'm telling you, when I seen that, I was like, that's crazy.
And you know what's crazy? I'm going to tell you what's really crazy. Everybody on this kick of, John the 8th chapter where he talked to the woman in adultery, that was added to the Bible. That's not in the original text. You know what's crazy? That is probably one of the most quoted verses in the whole Bible. How many times in your life have you heard anybody say, he that is without sin cast the first stone? Haven't you heard that a bunch of times?
You don't even hear that in the Bible. Like, that's the only place you hear that in the Bible.
But I'm saying, don't you hear people say that, though?
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Like about judgment and stuff. Like, they quote that religiously. But it's funny that people are saying now it was added and that wasn't originally there. But that's like the most quoted verse, you know.
That shit is crazy. He that is without sin cast the first stone. Sure.
Hey, Yashima used to be making them run around there and jump off the wall, huh, man? Ain't that crazy? Yeah, man. Them drums get to going. Them sisters they be in that bounce that ass. Woo!
Hey, but Sedaria, look, they was catching the Holy Spirit in the church. Yashima playing the drums. He got the Holy Spirit, but he never come off rhythm. He just stayed in rhythm. Everybody else passing out, he just stayed in rhythm.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, it just used to be a
a circus in church, man.
I
remember. And you're in the major.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I used to catch them women. They be, running around there. They go to foaming at the mouth. I'm like, this shit crazy, man.
I was always trying to see if a titty would pop out or something. Never seen
at the mouth.
Never seen.
Yeah.
As incapacitated as they was by the Holy Spirit, they would always seem to pull their skirt down, to pull their top up. They were always, never get exposed.
They kept on letting
you. Be like, why titty just don't pop out? You moving crazy.
They start speaking in all that bullshit.
Hey, they start speaking like JJ Fad. Hey, TJ, go pull up Supersonic by JJ Fad. That's how they were talking.
Them deacons used to get up and get behind them women too when they get to doing that shit.
Yeah, boy.
Whispering into them and shit, huh?
I like that shit when they fall.
Hey, them niggas used to be the worst niggas, man. I mean, they was being niggas though. But I
they'll have their hands around their waist while they falling, and they'll push their hand down and shit. That's how you know you ain't got no other spirit. I'm trying to grab you by your booty while you falling. You gonna push my hand away.
I remember when we used to come into church. Like I said, my dad was a preacher, and so my dad would go in and go ahead because he'd bring his instrument, in and stuff like that. But the church sometimes are already going. My dad brought his guitar and his amplifier or whatever, because he know they're gonna want him to sing. And then mom and my sister and we would come in there afterward, man. I remember walking by them deacons, man. Sometimes they get lined up there because we always sat up front. Them niggas, man, we up there talking about the sister. Boy, you see that over there, boy? Yeah. Say, nigga, I'm a nigga. You know what I mean? I ain't mad at them, but I'm just saying, like, nigga, y'all a deacon. Nigga, half of y'all married. They ain't there looking at the sister. Me being a preacher boy, I can get up and do a little, stuff. I walk around the church, deacon in the back there, turning up that little bottle of gin. Man, that shit used to be crazy as hell, man. It's crazy. Niggas was wicked.
I came in here because they kicked me out of the Sons of the room. Came here, acting around to set up a debate.
Oh, good. That's right. We gonna see them niggas in Atlanta. Motherfuckers.
I don't know if y'all South gonna be there because he said when he came in, he was like,
nah, he's from New York.
All the Sons of Thunder.
Yeah, he ain't in Atlanta. He in New York.
So Joel is the one that hosts that camp?
Yeah, he's the camp leader.
That's good. That's good. He's the bishop of Sons of Thunder?
No, he's the camp leader.
Who's the bishop?
Call himself. He runs the camp.
Like the whole camp nationally?
The whole nigga, it's only like 30 members in the whole thing.
Hello, Green Beans. Green Beans, can I interrupt? I'd just like to say a few words to praise Jah.
What do you want?
Praise Jah. Okay, go ahead.
Sons of turds got destroyed again and again and again and again. Sons of turds got destroyed again and again and again. Sons of turds, turds got destroyed again and again. Praise Jah.
How do you got so many followers and you just a scoffer? What's going on?
Oh, I just came to repeat the title of your room to figure out. Sons of turds got destroyed again. I've heard that.
Bro, how you got, like, people follow you with this BS? That's crazy. 900 people, too. That's.
Yeah, I didn't like what he was talking about.
What was he talking about? He wasn't talking about
nothing. Sons of turds again.
He's just reading the title, that's all. Scott. But he got 900 people that listen to him do that. That's crazy. Hey TJ, how your grandpa's name was Psalms? That Bible wasn't.
Don't these people know it's all improv?
Do this same stupid.
That story has been passed down from generation to generation throughout the family, and I expect you to tell that story to your children too, Willio. You gotta keep my legacy alive.
Yeah,
just like those Forrest, well, just like me when I was a kid, I broke out of them brass and I started running.
And simple,
this is an LGBTQ room in Chicago.
Reparations. Wait, Marty, why the fuck you called me the other day and I call you back and you don't pick up or I get a call back? Is you fucking slow? I'm about to get to the content.
What the content? Because I ain't hear it.
Shut the fuck up.
What the content, nigga?
Okay. Hear me, Marty? I'll deal with you later, bitch.
Over on a bitch that I fuck with, nigga, you got bitch over. So lose your mind. Get him in the room. Not paying on Super Bowl. Get him in the room. I guess so. All I got from this conversation is it's okay to lie if it's beneficial for you. No, get him in the room. You're a liar, nigga. Yo, look, hold on. You lied to your granny. It was beneficial for me to lie at the time. Okay, you lied on your granny. The fuck? Oh, bro. Now, what my grandma do to you?
Come on, gang. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard this turning?
He said he don't respect his grandma, so he ain't gonna respect his grandma.
No, get him in the room. You're a liar, nigga. Yo, look, hold on. You lied to your granny. It was beneficial for me to lie at the time. Okay, you lied on your granny. The fuck? Oh, bro. Now, what my grandma do to you? I
ain't say she did nothing to me. That's a dead bitch. God damn. Hold up.
Yo, look, hold on. You lied to your granny. It was beneficial for me to lie at the time. Okay, you lied on your granny. The fuck?
Stop playing that fight.
That's a dead bitch. Why you gotta play like that? That was wild. Yeah, like, that's wild, Easy. You gotta calm down. You lie now. But calm down, Easy. Like, if you don't care about her, why should anybody else care about her? How would you go there? If you don't care about her, why should anybody else care? It's the part where I'll be like, you weird. This bitch come, but if you don't care about her, why should anybody else care? One thing like me caring, but you disrespecting is crazy. No, I never disrespected.
The philosophy of the Tao is one of the two great principal components of Chinese thought. There are, of course, quite a number of forms of Chinese philosophy, but there are two great currents which have thoroughly molded the culture of China, and they are Taoism and Confucianism. And they play a curious game with each other. Confucius said the goody-goodies are the thieves of virtue, meaning that to try to be wholly righteous is to go beyond humanity, try to be something that isn't human. So this gives Confucian approach to life and justice and all those sort of things, it kind of we're human.
365 days a year, social virtue.
A sort of boys will be boys attitude, which is nevertheless a very mature way of handling human problems. It was, of course, for this reason that the Japanese Buddhist priests who visited China to study Buddhism, especially Zen priests, introduced Confucianism into Japan. Because despite certain limitations that Confucianism has, and it always needs the Tao philosophy as a counterbalance, Confucianism has been one of the most successful philosophies in all history for the regulation of governmental and family relationships. But of course, it is concerned with formality. Confucianism prescribes all kinds of formal relationships, linguistic, ceremonial, musical, in etiquette, in all the spheres of morals. And for this reason has always been twitted by the Taoists for being unnatural. You need these two components, you see, and they play against each other beautifully in Chinese society. Roughly speaking, you see, the Confucian way of life is for people involved in the world. The Taoist way of life is for people who get disentangled. Now, as we know in our own modern times, there are various ways of getting disentangled from the regular lifestyle, say, of the United States. If you want to go through the regular lifestyle of the United States, you go to high school and college, and then you go into a profession or a business. And you own a standard house, and you raise a family, and you have a car or two cars, and do all that jazz. But a lot of people don't want to live that way. And there are lots of other ways of living besides that. So you could say that those of us who go along with the pattern correspond to the Confucians, and those who are bohemians or bums or beatniks or whatever, don't correspond with the pattern, they are more like the Taoists. Because the Taoist is really, actually in Chinese history, Taoism is a way of life for older people. Lao Tzu, the name given to the founder of Taoism, means the old boy. And the legend is that when he was born, he was already had a white beard. So it's sort of like this, that when you have contributed to society, and you've contributed children and brought them up, and you have assumed a certain role in social life, you then say, now it's time for me to find out what it's all about.
God damn.
Who am I, ultimately, behind my outward personality? What is the secret source of things? And the latter half of life is the preeminently excellent time to find this out. It's something to do when you have finished with the family business. I'm not saying that that is a sort of unavoidable strict rule. Of course, one can study the Tao when very young, because it contains all kinds of secrets as to the performance of every kind of art or craft or business, or any occupation whatsoever. But it does, in China, in a way, it plays that role of a kind of safety valve for the more restricted way of life that Confucianism prescribes. And there is a sort of type in China who's known as the old rogue. He's a sort of intellectual bum, often found among scholars, who is admired very much, and who a type of character which had an enormous influence on the development of the ideals of Zen Buddhist life. He is one, you see, who goes with nature rather than against nature. Well, now, first of all, I'm going to talk about ideas which come strictly out of Lao Tzu's book, the Tao Te Ching. And, of course, the basic thing in the whole philosophy is the conception of Tao. This word has many meanings. And the book of Lao Tzu starts out by saying that the Tao which can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Or there's a pun in there, which you can't quite put into English. You can't give all the meanings, because the word Tao means both the way or course of nature, or of everything. It also means to speak. So the actual opening phrase of the book, following this word Tao, is this, you see? And this character means can be, or can, able, something like that. So the way which can be, then give it its second meaning, spoken, described, uttered. But it also means the way that can be weighed. Not W-E-I-G-H, but W-A-Y-E-D. You know, you'd have to invent that word. The way that can be traveled, perhaps, is not the eternal way. In other words, there is no way in which the Tao, or following the Tao, there's no recipe for it. I can't give you any do-it-yourself instructions, A, B, C, D, as to how it's done. It was like when Louis Armstrong was asked, what is jazz? He said, if you have to ask, you don't know. Now that's awkward, isn't it? But we can gather what it is by absorbing certain atmospheres and attitudes connected with those who follow it. And from the art and the poetry and all the expressions and the anecdotes and stories that illustrate the philosophy of the way. So this word then, the way or the course of things, is not, you must understand this, some Christian missionaries translated Tao as the Logos, taking as their point of departure the opening passage of St. John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word. Now if you look up a Chinese translation of the Bible, it says in the beginning was the Tao. And the Tao was with God, and the Tao was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by it, and without it was not anything made that was made. So they've substituted Tao there. Now that may make a very funny effect on a Chinese philosopher, because the idea of things being made by the Tao is absurd. The Tao is not a manufacturer, and it's not a governor. It doesn't rule, as it were, in the position of a king. Although the book, the Tao Te Ching, is written for many purposes, but one of its important purposes is as a manual of guidance for a ruler. And what it tells him is essentially, rule by not ruling. Don't lord it over the people. And so he says the great Tao flows everywhere, both to the left and to the right. It loves and nourishes all things, but does not lord it over them. And when good things are accomplished, it lays no claim to them. In other words, the Tao doesn't stand up and say, I have made all of you, I have filled this earth with its beauty and glory, fall down before me and worship. The Tao, having done anything, always escapes and is not around to receive any thanks or acknowledgement, because it loves obscurity. And Lao Tzu said the Tao is like water. It always seeks the low level which human beings abhor. So it's a very mysterious idea. Tao then is not really equivalent with any Western or Hindu idea of God, because God is always associated with being the Lord. Even in India, the Brahman is often called the Supreme Lord, although that with the term more strictly applicable to Ishvara, the manifestation of Brahman in the form of a personal God. But Bhagavan, the Lord, Krishna, his song is the Bhagavad Gita, the song of the Lord. There's always the idea of the king and the ruler attached, but not in the Chinese Tao philosophy. The Tao is not something different from nature, from ourselves, from our surrounding trees and waters and air. The Tao is the way all that behaves. And so the basic Chinese idea of the universe is really that it's an organism. And as we shall see when we get on to Zhuangzi, who is the sort of elaborator of Lao Tzu, he sees everything operating together so that nowhere can you find the controlling center. There isn't any. The world is a system of interrelated components, none of which can survive without each other. Just as in the case of bees and flowers, you will never find bees around in a place where there aren't flowers, and you will never find flowers around in a place where there aren't bees or insects that do the equivalent job. And what that tells us secretly is that although bees and flowers look different from each other, they're inseparable. They, to use a very important Taoist expression, they arise mutually. This is one of the great phrases from the second chapter of Lao Tzu's book, where he says, this character means to have or to be. And this next one is a very important character in Taoist philosophy. It means no, negative, wu in Chinese, not to be. And then this curious expression, for which we don't have a really good corresponding idea in traditional Western thought. So, to be and not to be mutually arise. This character is based on the picture of a plant, something that grows out of the ground. So, you could say positive and negative, to be and not to be, yes and no. Light and dark arise mutually, come into being. There's none is cause and effect. It's not that relationship at all. It's like the egg and the hen. So as the bees and the flowers coexist in the same way as high and low, back and front, long and short, loud and soft, all those experiences are experienceable only in terms of their polar experience. So the Chinese idea of nature is that all the various species arise mutually because they interdepend. And this total system of interdependence is the Tao. It involves certain other things that go along with Tao, but this mutual arising is the key idea to the whole thing. And it is, if you want to understand Chinese and Oriental thought in general, it is the most important thing to grasp. Because you see, we think so much in terms of cause and effect. We think of the universe today in Aristotelian and Newtonian ways. And in that philosophy, the world is all separated. It's like a huge amalgamation of billiard balls. And they don't move until struck by another or by a cue. And so everything is going tock, 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 all over the place. One thing starting off another in a mechanical way. But of course, from the standpoint of 20th century science, we know perfectly well now that that's not the way it works. We know enough about relationships to see that that mechanical model which Newton devised was all right for certain purposes. But it breaks down now because we understand relativity. And we see how things go together in a kind of connected net rather than in a chain of billiard balls banging each other around. So, in the philosophy of the Tao, it is said, it's always being said, this is, you read this in every art book about Chinese art, that in Chinese painting, man is always seen as in nature rather than dominating it. You get a painting entitled Poet Drinking by Moonlight, and you see a great landscape, and after some search with a magnifying glass, at last you see the poet stuck away in a corner somewhere, drinking wine. Whereas if we painted the subject poet drinking by moonlight, the poet would be the most obvious thing in the picture. There he would be, dominating the whole thing, and the landscape off somewhere behind it. But all the Chinese painters put man, I mean, the painters of the great classical tradition, there are Chinese painters who specialize in family portraits and do these very formal paintings of someone's ancestor sitting on a throne. It's quite a different category. But the Taoist-inspired painters, Zen-inspired painters, have this view of man as an integral part of nature, something in it, just as everything else is in it, flowers and birds, and not there, sent into this world, commissioned by some sort of supernatural being to come into this world and farm it and dominate it. So then, the whole conception of nature is as a self-regulating, self-governing, indeed democratic organism. But it has a totality. It all goes together, and this totality is the Tao. So then we move to a second term that is extremely important. The expression Ziran is the term that we translate nature when we translate Chinese. But this term expresses this whole point of view. It doesn't say nature, natura, which means, in a way, class of things. It means, literally, self-so. What is so of itself? What happens of itself? And thus spontaneity. And in the Tao Te Ching early on, Lao Tzu says, the Tao's method is to be so of itself. Now, we might translate that automatic, were it not that the word automatic has a mechanical flavor. Ziran, as this is called, or Shizen in Japanese, means spontaneous, yes. It happens as your heart beats. You don't do anything about it. You don't force your heart to beat. You don't make it beat. It does it by itself. Now figure a world in which everything happens by itself. It doesn't have to be controlled. It's allowed. Whereas you might say the idea of God involves the control of everything going on. The idea of the Tao is the ruler who abdicates and lets all the people, trusts all the people to conduct their own affairs. To let it all happen. So, this doesn't mean, you see, that there isn't a unified organism. Everything is in chaos. It means that the more liberty you give, the more love you give, the more you allow things in yourself and in your surroundings to take place, the more order you will have. It is believed generally in India that when a person sets out on the way of liberation, his first problem is to become free from his past karma. The popular theory of karma, the word that literally means action or doing in Sanskrit, so that when we say that something that happens to you is your karma, it's like saying in English, it's your own doing. But in popular Indian belief, karma is a sort of built-in moral law, or a law of retribution, such that all the bad things you do and all the good things you do have consequences which you have to inherit. And so long as karmic energy remains stored up, you have to work it out. And what the sage endeavors to do is a kind of action which in Sanskrit is called nishkama karma. Nishkama means without passion or without attachment, karma, action. And so whatever action he does, he renounces the fruits of the action, so that he acts in a way that doesn't generate future karma, because future karma continues you in the wheel of becoming, samsara, the round, and keeps you being reincarnated. Now then, in that case, when the time comes that you start to get out of the chain of karma, all the creditors that you have start presenting themselves for payment. In other words, a person who begins, say, to study yoga is felt that he will suddenly get sick, or that his children will die, or that he'll lose his money, or all sorts of catastrophes will occur, because the karmic debt is being cleared up. And there's in no hurry to be cleared up if you're just living along like anybody. But if you embark on the spiritual life, a certain hurry occurs. And therefore, since this is known, it's rather discouraging to start these things. The Christian way of saying the same thing is that if you plan to change your life, shall we say, to turn over a new leaf, you mustn't let the devil know, because he will oppose you with all his might if he suddenly discovers that you're going to steal from his power. So, for example, if you have a bad habit, say you drink too much, and you make a New Year's resolution that during this coming year you will stop drinking, that's a very, very dangerous thing to do, because the devil will immediately know about it. And what will happen will be this: he will confront you with the prospect of 365 drinkless days. And that will be awful, just overwhelming. And you won't be able to make much more than 3 days on the wagon. So in that case, you compromise with the devil and say, Just today I'm not going to drink, you see, but tomorrow maybe, we'll go back. Then when tomorrow comes, you say, oh, just another day, let's try out, that's all. And the next day you say, oh, one more day won't make much difference. So you only do it for the moment, and you don't let the devil know that you have a secret intention of going on day after day after day after day. But of course, there's something still better than that. And that is not to let the devil know anything. That means, of course, not to let yourself know. One of the many meanings of that saying, let not your left hand know what your right hand doeth, is just this. And that was why, in Zen discipline, a great deal of it centers around acting without premeditation. As those of you know who read Herrigel's book, Zen in the Art of Archery, it was necessary to release the bowstring without first saying, now. There's a wonderful story, you may also have read by a German writer, von Kleist, about a boxing match with a bear. The man can never defeat this bear because the bear always knows his plans in advance and is ready to deal with any situation. The only way to get through to the bear would be to hit the bear without having first intended to do so. That would catch him. And so this is one of the great, great problems in the spiritual life, or whatever you want to call it, is to be able to have intention and act simultaneous. By this means, you escape karma and you escape the devil. So, you might say that the Taoist is exemplary in this respect. That this is getting free from karma without making any previous announcement. Of simply, supposing we have a train and we want to unload the train of its freight cars. You can go to the back end and you can unload them one by one and shunt them into the...
I haven't even seen what the fuck it's all about, so it's we should keep it around that then. Do you know what is it tonight? Yeah, he said once the 3,000 is met, you'll get an alert that he's going to do a room over there, and everybody will pile in. That's my understanding of what's going to happen. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, okay. That's the
DC isn't a state. It's
no, but
city.
it's independent. No,
No, but it's not one of the 50 states.
yes, that's what I mean.
It's a district. It's not a state. It's a district. It's the District of Columbia. Right.
Province. No, I mean the internal is. There is one. Like I give you example.
Okay. Okay, this is Hypnosis Communication Theory Discussion with Hypnosis. Hypnosiscommunication.com Incorporated, Rip Boy Nation.
Health, wealth, love, and peace of mind.
siding. But the simplest of all ways of unloading is to uncouple between the engine and the first car, and that gets rid of the whole bunch at once. And it is in that sort of way, you see, that the Taoist gets rid of karma without challenging it. And so it has the reputation, you see, of being the easy way. There are all kinds of yogas and ways for people who want to be difficult. And one of the great gambits of a man like Gurdjieff was to make it all seem as difficult as possible, because that challenged the vanity of his students. If some teacher, some guru says, really, this isn't difficult at all, it's perfectly easy, some people will say, oh, he's not really the real thing. We want something tough and difficult, and that when we see somebody starts out giving you a discipline that's very, very weird and rigid, people think, now there is the thing. That man means business. See? And so they flatter themselves by going to such a guy that they are serious students, whereas the other people are only dabblers and, all right, if you have to do it that way, that's the way you have to do it. But the Taoist is the kind of person who shows you the shortcut and shows you how to do it by intelligence rather than effort, because that's what it is. Taoism is in that sense what everybody is looking for. The easy way in, the shortcut, using cleverness instead of muscle. So the question naturally arises, isn't it cheating? When in any game somebody really starts using his intelligence, he will very likely be accused of cheating. And to draw the line between skill and cheating is a very difficult thing to do. You see, the inferior intelligence will always accuse a superior intelligence of cheating. That's its way of saving face. You beat me by means that weren't fair. We were originally having a contest to find out who had the strongest muscles. And you know, we were pushing against it like this. And this would prove who had the strongest muscles. But then you introduce some gimmick into it, some judo trick or something like that, you see, and you're not playing fair. So in the whole domain of ways of liberation, there are routes for the stupid people and routes for the intelligent people. And the latter are faster. This was perfectly clearly explained by Huainan, the sixth patriarch of Zen in China, in his sutra, where he says the difference between the gradual school and the sudden school is they both arrive at the same point, but the gradual is for slow-witted people, and the sudden is for fast-witted people. Can you, in other words, find a way that sees into your own nature, that sees into the Tao immediately? And at the end of this morning's talk, I pointed out to you the immediate way, the way through now. When you know that this moment is the Tao, and this moment is considered by itself, without past and without future, eternal, neither coming into being nor going out of being. There is nirvana. And there is a whole Chinese philosophy of time based on this. It hasn't, to my knowledge, been very much discussed by Taoist writers. It's been more discussed by Buddhist writers. but it's all based on the same thing. Dogen, the great 13th century Japanese Zen Buddhist, studied in China, and he wrote a book called Shobo Genzo. A Roshi recently said to me in Japan, that's a terrible book, because it tells you everything. It gives the whole secret away. But in the course of this book, he says, there is no such thing as a progression in time. The spring does not become the summer. There is first spring, and then there is summer. So in the same way, you now do not become you later. This is T.S. Eliot's idea in Four Quartets, where he says that the person who has settled down in the train to read the newspaper is not the same person who stepped onto the train from the platform. And therefore also you who sit here are not the same people who came in at the door. These states are separate, each in its own place. There was the coming in at the door person, but there is actually only the here and now sitting person. And the person sitting here and now is not the person who will die. Because we are all a constant flux. And the continuity of the person from past through present to future is as illusory in its own way as the upward movement of the red lines on a revolving barber pole. You know, it goes round and round and round, and the whole thing seems to be going up or going down, whatever the case may be. But actually nothing is going up or down. So when you throw a pebble into the pond and you make a concentric rings of waves, there is an illusion that the water is flowing outwards. And no water is flowing outwards at all. Water is only going up and down. What appears to move outward is the wave, not the water. So this kind of philosophical argument says that our seeming to go along in a course of time, it doesn't really happen. The Buddhists say suffering exists, but no one who suffers. Deeds exist, but no doers are found. A path there is, but no one who follows it. And nirvana is, but no one who attains it. So, in this way, they look upon the continuity of life as the same sort of illusion that is produced when you take a cigarette and in the dark whirl it, and the illusion of the circle is created, whereas there is only the one point of fire.
The Hindu, they wait for
that's racist. You are saying it's not gonna work. This is racist.
The argument then is,
guys next to the Hindus.
Yeah, that's the best.
So long as you're
they
in
got
the
the best
You
burger.
are trying to say that the biggest mosque is not gonna work in Norway.
Get that goddamn In-N-Out burger. Get that.
Good luck getting funded to do that.
We're gonna make
We
it
are
much
gonna
taller
do
than
it
the Burj Khalifa.
Saudi Arabia.
Goddamn curly fries.
You do whatever. It's fine. I don't care. Like.
No, I know about food. I know
Nobody
about
cares. Nobody cares about what you need. Like know about food. Nobody cares.
Well, baby,
We will make sure every NBA player
Stop
from
all
America goes to Norway every summer on
I
holiday.
don't give a fuck about no goddamn basketball like that.
What you don't understand about Norwegian culture
I don't
is
even
that
watch
nobody fucking
basketball.
cares about anyone.
I don't even watch that shit.
We're gonna put a Texas Roadhouse next to the Hindu place.
LeBron James will become the Sheikh of Norway.
Who gives a fuck with that bald head?
More like Dennis Jordan. He needs some money.
Nah, they like Dennis Rodman.
That's what I meant, Dennis Rodman. He needs some money.
This nigga said Dennis Jordan. The fuck?
It's a mistake, brother.
We will send you the original Michael Jackson and then the white Michael Jackson.
Well, Michael Jackson. Well, Michael Jackson gonna get y'all kids.
Oh, hey, there's new people. Welcome. Feel free to come on stage.
Oh, hi, Donald. How's your evening going?
Been done. Thank you for coming by. I apologize for the joy sound, but I haven't eaten all day. I've been here for 6 hours.
Oh, you should take better care of yourself, Donald.
I wish I could. I don't have the capability.
Well, why not?
Because I've been degenerating disease that limits my mobility.
I see. Well, it's not limiting your ability to come on Clown House. That's a fact.
I'm sitting here in front of a computer in a chair, so I'm pretty immobile. It's actually
That's amazing. It doesn't sound so bad when you put it that way.
well, except for the constant agonizing pain from it.
Interesting.
But hey, nobody else can post it. Oh, Michaela's back. Welcome back. Oh no, Michaela's different.
I would like to submit a little evidence to your Convince Me God Exists room, if I may.
That'd be cool.
Okay. It's called Book of Fate. I'm going to go to a random page and just read a few minutes of it. Or
What culture? What culture is Book of Fate?
I'm not sure. It's a rare book. It's some kind of Napoleon book from France from the turn of the, from the 1800s. I'll just go to a random page. This is page 8. It says, "By thy marriage thou wilt be envied by others of thy sex. Be prudent and courteous to all men, and the arrows of slander will be blunted before they reach thee. It will be thy fate to...
Inspired by a god of some kind?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, then why the hell are you using it as a demonstration of God?
Well, okay, so then let me make a demonstration of God. I thought about this today. First off, God is a concept. So
Yeah.
anger is also, which is technically imaginary. And then anger is also a concept. But I will also say,
Anger is a feeling. Anger is a feeling.
no, the word anger is a concept.
Well, all words are concepts.
Okay, so that means all letters are concepts.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say, God is a concept. So basically,
Imaginary God.
right. So, okay. So the opposite in a mathematical proof, or I guess the balancing of an equation, the non-God or the anti-God is how you can basically proof out God, I suppose, linguistically, mathematically, maybe even in terms of feeling. I think that's...
All those things are still imaginary. You gotta get to objective reality somehow.
No, I can only do it, I believe, through linguistics. You can't do it objectively.
Well, I don't care about.
So I guess what I'm saying is, do you refuse the subjective theory of God?
No, the concepts exist.
Hmm?
The concepts exist, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can't actually, thus you can't actually convince you that God exists.
Not an imaginary God, it's something in objective reality I can be convinced
Well, what about the Earth, the whole planet itself? Wouldn't you call that like a space god?
Did it like make the universe to have a consciousness?
Well, everything outside of the planet is technically just an extension of the planet. So it is like a one system.
9 billion years went by without the planet even being here.
But now is the planet, and you are the planet. Like you are the intelligence of the planet.
No longer be here, but the universe will. In 10 billion years, our planet will no longer be here, but the universe will still be here.
Okay, but that's still you, though.
No, it's not. I'll be long gone.
No, meaning that your atoms right now will be dispersed into the infinity.
I am not my atom.
But you are comprised of atoms, if we can agree to that.
Well, I mean, if you define atoms as a waveform.
I mean, that's the thing is, I think atoms are also conceptual. So, I mean, but I can't touch an atom, but I know I'm a composite of atoms.
Well, you're a composite of wave functions that have collapsed.
Okay, so if all I am is a collapsed wave function, what is the opposite of me?
I mean, there could be an anti-you. There's plenty of antiparticles. I don't really think that that's the thing. Because you're your pattern of neurons in your brain, and that really can't be replicated. 100 billion humans born, not a single one had the same pattern in their brain.
What about identical twins?
Nope, not the same. Because it's based on blood flow. Identical twins don't even have identical fingerprints because it's also based on blood flow. And we know that the neuron layout inside your brain is also based on blood flow. So each time it's different than unique.
Okay, so I guess let me ask you, what do you think we could easily agree on?
We already have that God is imaginary. God is imaginary. We agreed on that.
So God is superstition.
Okay, superstition. I can probably agree with that.
So
Superstition is also imaginary.
Well, we could at least disagree on that. Otherwise,
well, have you seen the movie There Will Be Blood, where he makes the preacher, because he comes to ask him for money, he says, "I'll give you the money if you declare that God is a superstition and that you are a false prophet." He goes screaming out loud like you mean it, bitch. You know, then after that, he's like, "I'll drink your milkshake, bitch," and then he kills him with like a 10-pin from the bowling alley. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a psychotic aspect to religious extremism, which results in militant violence and religious enforcement or sexual regulation society through basically police tactics. But what I'm trying to say is that there's also an anti-violence dehypnotization aspect to religious materials that should technically bring peace and not violence, and it should de-escalate.
The violence usually wins because throughout history we see that the church. Hang on, I'll let you guys do it. Throughout history we see that the church incites violence wherever it goes. Every time that any religion takes power in a country, they incite violence. Every time. It is as universal as it comes.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that every world religion, except for maybe Buddhism, is engaged in militant theocracy. Is that how you would say it?
Well, the thing is that they got rid of it in the past. They did it in the past, and then they got rid of it. So they still did it.
why do you call them private right?
Because the Romans.
Well, because there's Roman Catholic, Orthodox Catholic, and then there's the post-Catholic.
Most things go like
there's like 24 different sects. There's like 24 different Catholic sects. There's the Jesuits and the Coptic.
Mm-hmm. So I got baptized in a church, and when I was in college, I found this book called Kingdom of the Christian Cults, and sure enough, there was the church that I got baptized in, and it's called the World Church of God.
Oh wow, I've never heard of that one. I was in Church of Christ.
Yeah. So America, what I'm trying to say is that America for 100 years, or I mean even more than that, has had major Christian religious organizations with many, many millions of members in basically Protestant or evangelical churches, which are completely outside the Catholic scope. And they themselves are an interesting study in insanity and delusions and imaginary communication. So I guess
Man, if you want an interesting study in communications, you should check out the Younger. Oh my God, they do debates on YouTube all the time. Wow. Sorry, I
well, anyways, I'm just saying that like a communication historical analysis is really relevant to essentially um, disproving the mythology or the delusions and illusions of the superstition. So I'm just saying though that in Hinduism, there's two concepts, or essentially, what is it? Euclidean geometry, zeros and ones, binary mathematics, yes and no, black and white, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches versus, grilled cheese sandwiches. So like in Hinduism, there's neti, 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 which is not, like not God is not this, God is not this, God is not this, God is not this. And then you get into Stoicism, or you get into the concept of the one God, and that deals with the all, which is the universe. So you have the micro. So you have the micro and the macro, and in between, I think is called the macrocosm. And the macrocosm is a symbol for God. So what I'm saying is there are symbols for the delusion, or symbols for the illusion, or symbols for the superstition. And these symbols are basically logos, which is the logos. And the logos are basically nonprofit charity organizations, which are essentially deal with etiquette or ethics or hypnosis or manipulation or bilking people out of their money or doing good things for people. Like, it's all dependent on the goodwill of the organizers. If it's founded in inauthenticity and they're not disclosing the fact that they're LARPing, or they're basically organizing gameplay or cosplay, then they're not really being sincere in the fact that everybody else is technically faking it, or LARPing a superstition and not admitting it, because obviously no one can convince you that God exists. So you have to accept the fact that cosplay or Comic Con is what America evangelical Christians or Roman Catholics or anybody playing that game has been doing forever now. So it's kind of like Comic Con, and it's just the way I can kind of explain to you what's happening through a different framing of the situation.
Oh yeah, did you ever see the movie Jesus Camp?
I've seen, no, but I've seen the pictures. Yeah, yeah, it's bonkers.
Yeah, I grew up in that shit. I went to those camps. I did the revivals. We went to camp revivals. We did all the lines of BCB. I never found any of it compelling. It was all just feels. I don't really process feelings the way most people do, so I didn't really get the whole feelings make it real thing. As I got older, I realized that nobody who defends God or Christianity in any meaningful way can actually do any of the things that they say, and 90% of the time they are either misinformed, lying, or wrong.
Well, I would just say that I can share with you my Christian experience, and I would just say that it was not negative. And in fact, I would say that I used the experience to essentially clear my mind from a guilty conscience because I was stealing from my employer. And when, the guilt from basically not disclosing, that I wasn't stealing from him, but I was doing what he was doing on the side, and I wasn't disclosing to him, that I was making money on the side. So I never really stole from him, but it just made me feel so guilty as a kid that I was in high school and we were buying and selling concert tickets and sporting events tickets, and like we figured out how to like hack Ticketmaster or like speed up Ticketmaster so we could be a little faster than the public. And we were getting amazing tickets with basically macros and creating scripts to automate purchasing. And yeah,
I was going to say something too. What's the thing that you said right before that last bit?
that I had a guilty conscience.
Oh yeah, you should have taken the Bible's advice and just not worried about it, because when Jacob came to his boss, he didn't worry about it. He liked life cheating his book. Taking the Bible. He cheated his boss. He loved it. God even made a miracle happen so that he could cheat his boss back.
See, I guess this is where I would criticize you for thinking that biblical stories in any way possible, explain the existence of God or that.
I don't accept that anymore.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is you're repeating to me a memory of a superstition.
All right. Well, listen. Give me one attribute of any God outside of all scripture. Ignore all scripture. Give me one single factor attribute about God that you know from something other than scripture.
You mean from the Bible?
All scripture. Ignore all scripture ever written and give me one fact about God.
So wait, you're asking me to ignore all the world's religions and all their scriptures?
Yes, and give me one objective fact about God.
Well, again, I would just have to go back to kind of earth science and say that this is how I would get away from the Yahweh.
I can describe how the planet formed. I can show you pictures of planet formation from beginning to end, and it requires no God at all. That's off the table.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is that the earth has an intelligence and that.
It doesn't. It's wrong.
Well, what I'm trying to say is if there is no God, that means that the earth made us.
No, well, I mean, this is our home. We evolved here, but the earth didn't make us. That doesn't make sense.
I don't know about that. There's really no other way. I know, but when you look at a tree or you look at a butterfly or you look at the
You really
seagulls.
just tell me to look at the trees, dude? Do you know what a trope that is?
It's not, because what I'm telling you is.
Look at the trees in quotation marks and see what pops up.
Donald, I'm telling you that the earth is alive and you are alive. Most people are not even aware that they're alive. And so what I'm trying to say is, okay, well then that's great. But what I'm trying to say is that the earth in totality is alive. It's basically a spaceship flying throughout the universe around a central gravity.
So, no, actually that's not true. We have a great factor that's backing us in a straight line outside of the average expansion of the universe. So, what is your demonstration that the Earth is intelligent, or what did you say?
I can, so the Taoistic perspective of pairing of unities.
No, this is scripture.
I know, I'm not going to cite scripture.
I told you to ignore scripture.
I know, but I'm just saying that opposites.
Right, well then, while you're using scripture, I'm going to go outside, and when I get back, I'm just going to say all of that is scripture, and I'm going to ignore it.
Yeah, that's fine, but what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the butterfly, if you look at the flower, those two go together in a way which is inseparable, and that deals with pollination and rejuvenation and recreation and cloning and how nature has this genetic intelligence of programming which can only have come from the earth, and the earth itself is a giant genetic soup. So there's this whole biomechanical process which is happening in the macro universe, which is completely unseen, just in the same way that, or I guess that's the micro universe, but in terms of the macro universe and what's happening in distant galaxies, it's very much the same type of genetic pool, or I guess elemental pools, as opposed to genetic pools, which I think are basically, I don't know how you distinguish between the two, but I think it's maybe more. Anyways, it's substance, or you could call it objective, objective, whatever. So I don't know. Donald's outside having a cigarette, so I don't know. AL, what do you think?
Yeah,
Amazing.
transition into the base life, so you know, I'm trying to adjust to that base life.
But everyone did a falsetto.
Oh yeah, every once in a while, you know, the falsetto will pop out. Yeah.
I love that. That was really, really good.
Yeah.
It's, somebody made a promise that if you sang, they would.
Be real, buddy. Was you trolling us?
I said Chicago is a nice city. I saw the photos of Chicago on the internet.
Fine. Assalamu alaikum. No, we speak English. Oh, Nana doesn't. Then are you Muslim?
Canada, where are you from?
That might make you a good football player, right? So I think it's kind of hard to tease out, you know, what comes from conditioning or conditional learning and what comes from genetics, and then our perceptions of all these things, right? So I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Yeah, it does. And I obviously I'm out of my element even to really, you know, these guys have PhDs and I believe you do too, but
for a few hours we got to do some back end stuff, and that's those volunteering times when you jump in and you get in the mix and help each other. And I get a lot of comments saying, well, how did you get all these followers, 66,000 followers? We're late. You know what? Here's an opportunity for you to be an early adopter. I mean, in Twitter Room, you know, Nelson posted a link on top. And
All hail Nelson Glorious.
Removed from what the subject is officially judging, the angle. Alright, so I'm going to keep reading. The result is that if an attended Gabor pact
we're made of like quantum fields, and the interaction of those quantum fields black wave functions that look like particles and elements and stuff like that.
So that's what they're doing at the CERN machine, dealing with those particles and elements, right?
Exactly, we're smashing protons together to look at quarks.
Could you tell me what quarks are again?
So quarks are one of the fundamental forces of nature. You got the up-down quark, the top-bottom quark, and you have the strange neutron quark. The one that interacts with our matter is the up and down quark.
Up and down.
There are 3 of them in protons and 3 of them in neutrons. Protons have UU and the neutrons have UH. And that's the attractive force that holds neutrons and protons together.
I'm just wondering, have you heard of the way that they pronounce proton and neutron in other countries? They say proton, and then for neutron they say neutron.
Okay, it says in 1896, the scientists discovered electricity as the dominant force of the universe. Magnetism gave birth to electricity. Then they said the goddess of, did you ever hear about the goddess of electricity they called her Ixia? And she used to be on money too at one point, but they took her off.
I don't care about symbology.
Oh, right. I get it.
Electromagnetism is one force. So just in magnetism on one thing. And they're both the same as the weak nuclear force. So all 3 of those things are one. Called the electroweak. So the same.
Oh, and they like to separate it.
Yeah, so the same force that's responsible for electronic chemistry on the other end of that spectrum is responsible for like radioactive decay.
Radioactive, okay. What about this? 1904 is when they took the word ether off of the periodic table. Do you know anything about ether?
Yeah, ether was a hypothesis that was presented to fill a gap that that it needed a medium outside of space-time because we didn't know that space-time was one thing at the time. We thought there was space and there was time and there was heaven.
Okay.
So the ether was.
Okay, everybody, we are here in downtown Kansas.
But we tried to detect it, and we never could detect it, so we dropped it and moved on. And then Einstein came around and gave us relativity as compared to space-time, and everything was fine.
Okay, because don't you think, because this is what they were saying, they was using ether energy in the Tartaria age. When you look at those antiquettes and stuff like that on top of the like castle-y like buildings.
So that never happened. I can demonstrate that I can disprove that hypothesis because any advanced civilization would require massive amounts of mining, and we would be able to detect that with the LISA array. It's a pair of satellites that you have to measure the density of the surface below the surface. We use it to detect minerals and oil and all kinds of shit. People get paid millions of dollars a year to do this shit. So it works. People wouldn't pay for it if it didn't work. So if there was an advanced civilization in the past, they would require mining for minerals to build new technology. We do it already.
That's true.
And we don't get any detection to explain mining on
Okay. So they have a machine that can detect that.
There aren't any problems. The problems exist only when you allow presence to amalgamate. There's a way of putting this in Chinese, which is rather interesting. They have a very interesting sign. This. It's pronounced Nian. In Japanese, Nen. And the top part of the character means now, and the bottom part means the mind heart, the Shin. And so this is, as it were, an instant of thought. In Sanskrit, they use it. They use this character as the equivalent for the Sanskrit word shana. Then, if you double this character, put it twice or 3 times, and I'll write the Chinese for ditto. Nyan 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 means thought after thought after thought. Now, the Zen master Joshu was once asked, what is the mind of a child? And he said, a ball in a mountain stream. What do you mean by a ball in a mountain stream? He said, thought after thought after thought with no block. So, he was using, of course, the mind of the child as the innocent mind, the mind of a person who's enlightened. One thought follows another without hesitation. The thought arises, it doesn't wait to arise. As when you clap your hands, the sound issues without hesitation. When you strike flint, the spark comes out. It doesn't wait to come out. And that means that there's no block. So, thought, nyan, 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 describes what we call in our world the stream of consciousness. Blocking consists in letting the stream become connected, chained together, in such a way that when the present thought arises, it seems to be dragging its past.
Hello.
Resisting its future. Saying, I don't want to go. When then the connection, the dragging, it's better to call it, of these thoughts drops, you've broken the chain of karma. If you think of this in comparison with certain problems in music, it's very interesting. Because when we listen to music, we hear melody, only because we remember the sequence. We hear the intervals between the tones, but more than that, we remember the tones that led up to the one we are now hearing, and we are trained musically to anticipate certain consequences. And to the extent that we get the consequences we anticipate, we feel that we understand the music. But to the extent that the composer does not adhere to the rules and gives us unexpected consequences, we feel that we don't understand the music. And if he gives us harmonic relationships, which we are not trained to accept, that is to say, to expect,